as Purdue was back in action against Iowa, and the Boilers were looking to do what's been rare this year for them, respond from a loss. They did it, 87-73. They beat the Hawkeyes. They get to 23-2 on the year. And it's amazing, Laval Jordan, because the question that we asked coming into this season was, what is this backcourt going to look like exactly? And with a fella who had number 196 next to him in the class recruiting rankings, his name is Braden Smith, and he is not 196. Right now, he's as good of a freshman guard that you're going to find in the country. 24 points tonight, 5 assists. How has a freshman been able to thrive to the degree Smith has at Purdue?
It's a couple things, John. Like one, you would have to know. Yeah, he's an Indiana kid. He's from Indianapolis area, Westfield High School. So, and he was a really good player there. And a lot of coaches didn't get to see him. You talk, what did COVID do? So Braden, because obviously we were right there in Indianapolis, but COVID hits and you can't see guys play. You can't see anybody play for a whole high school season, the end of the high school season and the whole summer and into the next season, right? So if you hadn't seen him when he was younger, you didn't get to see him through the COVID, and then he commits to Purdue early, and obviously you could watch film and that was the COVID recruiting process. But Mr. Basketball in Indiana, he's a tough kid, man, mentally tough and believes in himself. He doesn't lack confidence at all. And so that's one. Two is he doesn't have to do what he did tonight every night, right? He's take care of the basketball, run the sets and get the ball to the most unguardable player in college basketball this year, and then and step up and make shots. So he's got a really good role for a freshman. It's tough because unless you're Brandon Miller, like if everything's on you as a freshman every night, now he's got to take care of the ball, and that's a tough job, point guard in Purdue. But he's, Matt's done a great job of just, guiding him through it and letting him find his way. He and Fletcher, and both of them have been, phenomenal for young players. They've carried them at times, each of them, and that's a compliment to their staff, their evaluation, their development. I know those guys really well, and I know how they do their work. And I would say this, from a leadership standpoint, to see Zach Edey step in front of the microphone for Braden Smith the other night,
yes, and
stand up for his point guard, the freshman, and then see the freshman, pay the big fella back tonight is pretty big time. They're double teaming. So Fran had to pick his poison. He said, we're going to double and not let Edey beat us. And, so from a leadership, just what you want to see from your team when they have each other's backs is like, that's awesome to see.
Patrick, what's the thing that's impressed you the most about Purdue?
Ooh, the thing that's impressed, it has to be the guard play, the backcourt, their ability to continue to get better as the season is going on with being so young, being full of freshmen and Fletcher Lawyer. His ability as he's expanded, you can just see his confidence from the beginning of the season to where they are now, how well they run their sets, how well they're coached. It's not a one-horse pony when it comes to Purdue, and Zach Edey is a unicorn when we're talking about a one-horse pony, and his ability to just find space, score over whomever, be the first one to the ball on rebounds. But the way that, because of his dominance, I believe it's created space for his guards to grow into their roles because he demands such attention. And as we can see tonight, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Caleb Hurst, all just trending in the right direction at the right time. Of course, coming off of a loss against a really tough Indiana team. Is in the Big Ten, it's hard to win on the road. I mean, that's almost any league, but especially when you have so many teams that are projected to make the tournament.
Especially that place, Patrick.
Especially in that place.
That was the last time they beat a number one team since 2013. I was on the other bench of the number team they beat in 2013. We went there with Michigan.
Okay, I thought it was the Kentucky game.
We were 1 and they were 3, and You walk in there, number one in Assembly Hall in Bloomington. I mean, it was the loudest place I've ever been. So I know what they just walked into.
I remember Christian Watford.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
Lucky
that
game,
was
right? Yeah, huge shot.
shot of his life right there. But yeah, for sure, that's got to be. And Iowa did a great job with their press tonight. 17 turnovers they forced Purdue into, and still Purdue ran away with this win. And we got tight at one point in the second half. I think they cut it to 7 or 5. I can't remember what it was, but just a flurry of offense and defense on both sides. Zach Edey, he was pretty quiet in the first half. That second half, his dunk, hook shot, dunk. I think a 3, and then it was back to 15, just like that.
The thing, John, that I've been impressed with is to what Patrick said. Yeah, the young guards for sure, but them defensively, like the first half tonight, to hold Tony Perkins is coming off a 30 ball.
Yes.
Right, and to hold Iowa to 1 3-pointer in the first half, and obviously they don't foul. So here's the issue: you have to score from the field. And because Edey's back there, he has more block shots on the season than he has fouls. so isn't
that interesting?
So Iowa doesn't shoot a free throw the entire first half. So on the road, Patrick, right, that's part of the formula to quiet the crowd down, get to the foul line, just to try to take some of the juice out of the building. But they don't foul, and so you have to score. But you can't get to the paint because Edey's in there. And I thought, their defenses for those young guys to be able to pick up defensively, as much as they're doing on offense, has been really impressive.
Purdue goes to 12-2 in the Big Ten. They're 4 up in the win column in the race. They're 3 up in the loss column. They are clearly going to run away with a conference regular season title. Then the Big Ten is jumbled. We'll get to that here in a moment. But the Boilermakers, they win this game 87-73. And you think about the direction that they've been going in here. We said on Saturday night that the feeling that should take away is that we've learned about them more in the last week than maybe the 3 or 4 previous to that. We welcome all of you to SiriusXM College Channel 84. John Fanta here with you for the Field of 68 After Dark with the coach Laval Jordan, with Patrick Young. We just wrapped up the Gonzaga game here on SiriusXM Channel 84. The Zags get their 20th win of the year and move to 9-2 in WCC play as they beat San Francisco 99-88. So 99-81 rather. So we welcome all of you who just listened to Gonzaga and San Francisco. John Fanta, Laval Jordan, Patrick Young with you. And guys, we'll talk Zags a little bit later in the show. We begin tonight, folks, on the Field of 68 After Dark with the Purdue Boilermakers. We've been talking about their win over Iowa, 87-73. And the take that I have, gentlemen, is when you're dominating and winning at the level they have been in the Big Ten, of course, you're not going to frown about any of that or think about any of it. But on Saturday, on a day where their guards didn't always have it, the way that they fought at Indiana, and they were right in it. Now, they fell, they lost, but it felt like there could be positives to take from that loss. And tonight, how would they respond? They responded emphatically. The Purdue Boilermakers are a freight train. They have the best player on the planet. They have one of the best 5 coaches in college basketball.
Best college basketball player on the planet.
Yeah. Best college basketball player on the planet, for sure. We know that we could talk about those other players, but best college basketball player on the planet. One of the best 5 coaches in the sport. And a backcourt that has exceeded any and all expectations. Now, a monster inside has to do something with that, but it's also the system at which Matt Painter plays that allows for them to achieve this type of success. There are no holes to this team. And I think you brought it up, Laval. The defensive tenacity of Purdue makes them different from just any Purdue team.
To see them improve from last year to this year, obviously, Edey had to get better, better in his pick and roll coverages. He got himself in shape, well conditioned this year. But the really impressive part is the young guards, right? Typically, that's who you're going to pick on is freshman guards. You know that, Patrick. Like you're trying to find those guys, and again, they can funnel things to Zach Edey, so that's a luxury, right? But I thought the Indiana game, what was as good as Indiana played, and they were impressive in the win. For Smith and Lawyer, it wasn't like they weren't shook, Patrick.
No.
They just missed shots. They were as fearless as they always are and played with the same amount of courage. They just didn't make them. But it wasn't like they, how you see a team on the road and they're shook. You dribble the ball off your foot or, afraid to take a shot. It wasn't that. They just didn't make them that night. And then obviously they stepped up tonight and made them at home again. But that was the impressive thing about the Indiana losses. It wasn't like they were afraid. Indiana got up big, they battled back, but I didn't really think they were rattled. They just, they just didn't make their shots.
Mm-hmm. We've got Caleb First coming up on the show in our second segment. Purdue winning tonight over Iowa, 87-73. The Boilermakers clearly the class of the country. I thought it was rather fitting, Patrick, that they stayed as the number one team in the nation, even after a loss. I mean, that speaks volumes too, and you could see why they stayed number one here tonight.
Yeah, it's not like Purdue had a 27-point loss that Alabama had against Oklahoma.
True.
Something along those lines. On the road, top 20 team in Indiana, a hard-fought battle. I think it's pretty easy choice to understand why they would stay in that overall number one seed spot. The Houston's conference just isn't strong enough, not a strong enough win to just. I think if it's similar to a boxing match, when you beat when you're going against the champ, you can't just be even with them. You got to prove that you deserve the trophy, you deserve the belt. You have to beat them down, and no one's proven that. That hasn't happened to Purdue thus far. Both their losses very close, right in the mix of those games. A team that is, Zach Edey had 33 and 18 in that Indiana game. Just to LaVelle's point, Braden Smith had 4, just did knock down shots that game. And Hutch Schifino, he played out of his mind. He probably wasn't the X factor guy on the scouting report that day, but whenever you get an opportunity for the number one team to come into your place, you're going to be juiced up for that chance to get in higher seeding in the tournament.